So, very good afternoon to all my dear students. I welcome you all into the Industrial Pharmacy First. Dear student, we had already started the parenteral and most of the lectures we had already covered associated with the parenteral products. Today, hopefully, we will be on to the very last lecture. We will try to cover the details in today's lecture if it is possible. Right. So now with this, let's move to the details that already we had covered in our yesterday's lecture. So yesterday we saw the significance, importance of the pyrogens, their classification, their structure, what the endotoxins are there, what is their bioactivity, what will be the different sources of pyrogens and their contamination to the of the product, how we will go for the process of elimination of the pyrogens by using the various techniques. And last but not the least, we had gone through the various kinds of the quality control test for the parenteral, in which we saw the rabbit test, then the LAL test, then we had gone for the particulate matter and the clarity test. So we had left with the sterility test, and today we will cover this sterility test along with that of the containers and all. And with this, we will going to finish this particular topic in today's lecture. So after going through the today's talk, you will be able to understand the sterility test procedures and the official guidelines given for that. Then we will see the different methods of sterilization for the parenteral products. We will also see the different kinds of containers and the closure system that is used for the parenteral, like say the glass container, plastic container, and the different kinds of the closures, like say the rubber closures. In order to understand all these, our lecture plan that will move through the sterility test, what it is, basics compendial requirements, the test methods and the results interpretation, then the methods of sterilization or the sterility, the different method like say the direct transfer method and the membrane test method, and how to go for these two tests. Then the containers for the parenteral product, and last but not the least, the process of filling and sealing of the ampoules and the closure systems. So as far as the sterility is concerned, sterilization, it is the absolute term. Now, absolute, the meaning is that either there should be a complete sterility or there is no sterility. That means the product is either sterile or non-sterile. Sterility means the complete absence of all viable microorganism, and it is an absolute term. There is no borderline, there is no intermediate between the sterile and non-sterile. Either there will be a sterile or there will be a presence of microorganism. That means it is the non-sterile. Now, in order to carry out the process of sterility, there are different methods like say the direct transfer method and the direct inoculation method. So the United States of Pharmacopoeia and the European Pharmacopoeia, they had given the sterility test and they had specified the two basic methods. And in order to perform these two basic sterility test method, the official medium which is mentioned into the USP as well as European Pharmacopoeia is the fluid thioglycolate medium and the soybean casein digest medium. So this is the overall composition for the fluid thioglycolate medium and the quantity of the individual ingredient. The fluid thioglycolate medium, it will contain the different ingredients like say the pancreatic digest of casein, yeast extract which is water soluble, glucose monohydrate anhydrous form, sodium chloride, L-cysteine, sodium thioglycolate, Resazorin, sodium solution, freshly prepared, granulated agar, that is the moisture not more than 15%, purified water, polysorbate 80, and the pH after sterilization that should be measured at the room temperature, which should be near to that of the neutral pH. That means it is the 7. And all these are the individual quantities for all the individual ingredients. So that is as far as the fluid thioglycolate medium is concerned. In order to prepare the fluid thioglycolate medium, we have to take all the ingredients: pancreatic digest of casein, yeast extract, glucose, sodium chloride, L-cysteine, agar, and water. We have to mix it by heating with that of the polysorbate 80 and the sodium thioglycolate. Then 1 molar sodium thioglycolate or 1 molar hydrochloric acid is added in order to adjust its pH to the 7.1 plus or minus 0.2. And if the solution is not clear, the mixture is heated to boiling and filtered. Then the resazorin sodium solution that is added and mixed. So this is the method by which we can go for preparation of the fluid thioglycolate medium. This is the another medium which is said to be the sodium casein digest medium. So all these are the ingredients belonging to that of the sodium casein digest medium, and all these ingredients, they are in this much quantity. So again, as we saw in case of the fluid thioglycolate medium, the soybean casein digest medium, it will contain the pancreatic digest of casein, papain digest of the sodium meal, glucose monohydrate anhydrous, sodium chloride, dipotassium hydrogen phosphate, purified water, polysorbate 80, granulated agar, the moisture that should not be more than 15%, purified water, polysorbate 80, and the pH of sterilization measured at room temperature that should be 7.3. So again, it is equal to that of the neutral pH, but it is slightly alkaline than that of the fluid thioglycolate medium. In case of fluid thioglycolate medium, it was 7.1. In case of sodium casein digest, it is the 7.3. And all the individual ingredient, they had been taken in this much quantity respectively. As far as the method of preparation for the soybean casein digest medium is concerned, all the ingredients, they are mixed in the proportions given above with the slight warming. Then the solution is cooled at room temperature. Polysorbate 80 is added if the ingredient is to be included. 1 molar sodium hydroxide or 1 molar hydrochloric acid is added in order to adjust the pH at 7.3 plus or minus 0.2. And if the solution is not clear, it is filtered through the moistened filter paper. Now, this is the method of sterilization or the measuring the sterility, which is said to be the direct transfer method. What will be done in case of direct transfer method? The aseptically open in each sample container from recently sterilized batch. The sampling that can be carried out based on the suitable method, or there may be random sampling of the containers. Then withdraw the required volume of the sample for both the medium, soybean casein digest as well as for the fluid thioglycolate media. Injecting 1/2 of the required volume sample in fluid thioglycolate medium, FTM. FTM is the fluid thioglycolate medium, and the other half of the volume of sample in required volume of the tryptase soy broth, that is the TSB medium. The filter unit must be properly assembled and sterilized prior to use. The contents are transferred to the filter assembly. The contents are filtered with the aid of the vacuum or pressure differential system. The membrane is removed aseptically and cut in half. 1/2 of the membrane is placed in a suitable volume, usually 100 ml of the fluid thioglycolate medium, and the other membrane half is placed in an equal volume of TSB, tryptase soy broth. Then a suitable membrane filter unit consists of an assembly that facilitates the aseptic handling of the test article that is to be chosen. The membrane suitable for sterility testing has a rating of 0.4 micrometer and a diameter of approximately 47 millimeter. The sample is incubated for the 14 days for the test, and after 14 days, the incubated sample is observed for the interpretation of the results. Now, the interpretation that is in the form of, say, if the microbial growth is not evident, that means it will clearly indicate that the sample tested complies with the test for sterility. That means the sample is sterile and the product is sterile. And suppose if the microbial growth is evident, if the microbial growth is observed, that means this will clearly indicate that the product does not comply with the test for sterility and there is a contamination and the product is non-sterile. So if there is no evidence of the growth in any vessel inoculated with the product during the rapid test, product passes the test for the sterility. Now we can go for destruction of the microorganism in order to maintain the product completely sterile. So we can go for the different methods, like say the microbial destruction method with the help of use of heat. We can use the chemicals, we can use the radiations. Upon exposure of such treatment, microorganisms, they will die according to the logarithmic relationship between the concentration of the population of the living cells and the time exposure or the radiation dose. So there is an inverse relationship. If there is a direct relationship. Let us say, for example, if the number of population of microorganism is more, the duration of exposure is more, the dose is more, in order to counteract the destruction or in order to counteract the growth and multiplication of the microorganisms. Now there is a D value. D value is what? The D value or the time required or the dose required for one logarithmic reduction in the microbial population that may be calculated from this plot. That is D value 1 divided by alpha to the temperature. It determines the time required to reduce the microbial population by 1 decimal point. That is, it is the time required for 90% reduction in the microbial population. Hence, the time or the dose it takes to reduce the 1000 microbial cells to the 100 cells is the D value. Are you getting me or not? Because D value is what? It is the particular value. It is the particular dose of the agent, of the ingredient which is used in order to counteract, in order to reduce the growth of microorganism. Let us say, for example, if we will be having the 100 number of microorganism, and in order to kill the 90 microorganism out of these 100, so the dose which is required in order to have the 10 number of microorganism out of 100, so that is nothing but the D value. The same has been given here. So in order to reduce the 1000 microbial cells to the 100 cells, right? Earlier, before exposure, if the number of microorganisms was 1000, and after exposure, if we will be getting the 100 number of cells, so that means the dose which is required, that is the D value. This is important because it is specific for each microorganism. From microbe to microbe, their rate of multiplication is different, their sensitivity is different. So ultimately, the dose that is going to be differing. The knowledge of the D value is necessary for the calculation of the Z value. If we had the knowledge of D value, we can go for calculation of the Z value. The D value is used in the calculation of the biological factor, that is F. Extrapolation of the D value that will predict the number of log reduction of the microbial population. Now there are different parameters which will affect the D value, and these are the type of microorganism that is used as a biological indicator, the formulation component and the characteristic, the surface on which the microorganism that is exposed, and the temperature or the gas concentration or the radiation dose. So all these are the factors that are responsible, or these are the parameters that will affect the total Z value. So this is the Z value. You can see the Z value, how it will be calculated. Z is equal to T1 minus T2, that is the temperature differences, in order to reduce the logarithmic, that is the D value D1 to that of the D2, right? So the temperature required for the 1 log reduction is the D value, and Z value is the reciprocal of the slope resulting from the plot of the logarithmic of the D value versus the temperature at which the D value was obtained. So the temperature at which the D value was obtained, so that is nothing but the T1 and the T2. The magnitude of slope that will indicate the relative degree of lethality as temperature is increased or it is decreased. So this is the F value. In order to calculate the F value, we had the formula delta T sigma summation of 10 into bracket T minus T0 divided by Z, where delta T is the time interval for the measurement of the product temperature T, and capital T, that is the reference temperature. T0 is 121 for the steam sterilization. The F value that will measures the equivalent time, not clock time, that a monitored article is exposed to the desired temperature given at a temperature of 121 degrees Celsius. Now, what are the different methods of sterilization? We had the different methods like say chemical method and the physical method. In case of chemical method, we had the use of different gases and the different chemicals. In case of physical method, we can go for use of heat, filtration, and the radiation. The different kinds of radiation like say UV radiation, gamma radiations are used. In case of filtration method, this is for the clarity as well as for the sterilization. The bacteria proof filters are going to be used. And in case of thermal heat method, we are going to be using the heat either in the form of dry heat or in the form of the moist heat. Dry heat, that is the use of hot air oven, and moist heat, that is the use of the autoclaves. The process, that is the dry heat sterilization, that is to be operated at 160 degrees Celsius to the 180 degrees Celsius for a period of 2 hours. And this method is sensitive to that of the moisture sensitive materials. If the materials, these are moisture resistant, then in that case, the dry heat that is not employed, but moist heat sterilization, that is the use of autoclaves, that is employed. So generally the temperature that is at 121 degrees Celsius at 134 degrees Celsius for 15 pound and the 15 minutes. The efficiency of the process of inactivation of microorganism, it will depend on the degree of heat, the exposure time, and the presence of moisture. If the moisture is present, that is carry out the process of saturated steam, so which will increases the penetration power, it will causes the coagulation of the protein. Exposure time, if it is more, again it will carry out the process more effectively. And the degree of heat, if the heat is more, again it is responsible for the higher rate of sterilization. The dry heat, it employs the higher temperature in the range of 160 to 180 degrees Celsius, and it will require the exposure time up to 2 hours, depending upon the temperature that is employed. So this method is employed for the glassware thermostable powders, metal surgical instruments, and for the non-aqueous thermostable liquids. The dry heat that will utilizes the method which is said to be the incineration, red heat, flaming, and the hot air one. In case of the moist state, generally the dry saturated steam that is going to be used, as in case of the autoclaving. Or there is another method, that is the boiling water, that is the steam at the atmospheric pressure, and there is a hot water below the boiling temperature. So all these are the different moist state methods of sterilization. The autoclave that will consist of the different part, like say the cylindrical vessel, rectangular chamber. It will consist of a heating system, that is the heaters are provided at its base. Then there is a steam outlet and steam inlet valve. Then there is a single or double door locking system mechanism. It is in association with that of the thermometer or the temperature gauge in order to measure the inside temperature. And there is a pressure gauge which will ensure the pressure of required values, like say the 15 pound in most of the cases. The chemical method by which we can go for the process of sterilization, that is the chemically reactive gases are going to be used. So here generally the formaldehyde and the ethylene oxide, these gases are going to be used. The ethylene oxide, that is the colorless, odorless gas, it is producing its effect as a result of alkylating, and it will possess the biocidal activity. So ethylene oxide, it is the colorless, odorless, and the flammable gas. The concentration ranges from ethylene oxide, that is the weight of gas per unit chamber of the volume. So it is usually in the range of 800 to 1200 milligram per liter. And for formaldehyde, it is in the 15 to 100 milligram per liter with operating temperature of 45 to 63 degrees Celsius and 70 to 73 degrees Celsius respectively. So these values that might be asked in case of the multiple choice questions, that is, what is the concentration at which the ethylene oxide that is going to be used for the process of sterilization? Your answer should be 800 to 1200. For formaldehyde, it would be 15 to 100 milligram. The most important point to be noted here is that in case of both the cases, these gases are potentially mutagenic and the carcinogenic. So the combination that should not be used. That is the important one. The liquid sterilization, in case of the liquid sterilization method, we can go for use of the different kinds of the liquids, like say the peracetic acid liquid sterilization method. So generally the low temperature liquid chemical sterilization process system that is going to be used, and the hydrogen peroxide sterilization method. So this agent sterilizes by oxidizing the key cellular component and which will inactivates the microorganism. So this is the structure for the para-acetic acid and this is the structure for the hydrogen peroxide. It is the H2O2. If we talk about the radiation method, the gamma rays and the UV rays, these are going to be used. So particulate radiation, for example, the accelerated electrons, these are responsible for carrying out the lethal effect. The major target for these radiations, that is the microbial DNA. In case of the microbes, they will interfere with that of the microbial DNA and thus they will causes their effect onto that of the microorganisms. The gamma rays and the electrons, they will causes ionization and free radical production, while using the UV light that will causes the excitation. So all these are the different mechanism. UV light that will produces excitation, whereas the gamma rays and the electron, they will causes ionization and the free radical production that is responsible for the process of sterilization. Filtration method. In case of filtration method, you can see there is a feed and there is a filtrate. The particulate matter or the microorganism, they will get entrapped, they will remain onto the surface of the filters. So filtration process does not destroy the microorganism, but they will remove the microorganism. And because of which it is going to be used both for the process of clarification as well as sterilization of the liquids and the gases, as it is capable of preventing the passage of both viable and non-viable particles. As far as the containers and closures are concerned, the injectable formulations, these are packaged into the containers. These are made up of either glass or say the plastic. The container system that will include the different containers like say the ampoules, vials, syringes, cartridges, bottles, and the bags. So ampoules, these are all glass, whereas bags all are plastic. The other containers can be composed of glass or plastic and must include rubber materials such as rubber stoppers for the vials. Whereas in case of the irrigating solutions, these are going to be packaged into the glass bottles with the aluminum screw cap. The USP that will provide the classification for the gases, the different four classifications are there: type 1, type 2, type 3, and the NP. Type 1, that is the borosilicate glass, which is the parenteral purpose glass. Type 2, that is the soda lime or the treated glass. Type 3, that is the soda lime glass. And NP, that is a soda lime glass that is not suitable for the containers for the parenterals. The type 1 glass, that is composed principally of the silicon dioxide. This is the type 1 borosilicate glass. It will contain 81% of the silicon oxide and boric acid, that is the 13%, with the sodium and the aluminum oxide. It is chemically resistant glass, low leakability is there, and also having a low thermal coefficient of expansion, and that is good. The lower the thermal coefficient of expansion, the more dimensionally stable the glass against the thermal expansion stress that can result in cracking. Type 2 and the type 3, if we will say the type 2 and type 3 glass, they will composed of relatively high proportions of the sodium oxide. So that is the 14%. So here you can see it is the 14%, whereas calcium oxide, it is the 8%, and this will make the glass chemically less resistant. So both types, they will melt at a low temperature and are easier to mold into the various shapes and have a higher thermal coefficient of expansion. So type 2, USP type 2 glass, that is the dealkalinized soda lime glass, sodium hydroxide, and the calcium oxide, that is the alkali resistant glass. And all these are the different tests that are to be performed onto the glass materials: the powdered glass test, water attack test, hydrolytic resistant test, and the light transmission test. There are another material, that is the plastic material. They are of two different types: thermoplastic and the thermosetting plastic. Thermoplastic, they can be reprocessed, and the thermosetting plastic, they cannot be reprocessed. They cannot be remelted. There are three different principal problem areas exist in using these materials. So the first is the permeation of the vapors and the other molecules in either direction through the walls of the plastic container. They will permeate. Then there is absorption, that is the absorption or adsorption of the drug molecule or ions in the plastic material, and leaching of the constituents. So these are the problem associated with the use of the plastic material: permeation problem, absorption problem, and the leakage problem. However, they will offer various advantages. The advantage, like say, there is a substantial weight reduction. These are lightweight weight. These are non-breakable, and there is no interchange of air that is required in the flexible bags of the polyvinyl chloride and the polyolefins. The disadvantage that it is non-transparent. It is not clear as that of the glass material. So that is the most important disadvantage. Now the different test by which we can go for the evaluation of the plastic material, that is the clarity of the aqueous extract, transparency test, leakage test, collapsibility test, and the water vapor permeability test. So all these, that is as far as the plastic material is concerned. Filling and sealing of the parenterals, the for filling as per the suitability of the preparation of the container system has been specified. The next step are the validation of the vials and the cleaning and sterilization of the depyrogenation of the processes. The sealing that can be done by using the automated machines. The tip seal that is done by melting the sufficient glass at the tip of the ampule neck to form a bead of glass or to close the opening. Now pull the seal by pull seal that is done by hitting the neck of the rotating ampule below just the tip, and then the pulling tip away from the small twisted capillary just prior to being closed. And the glass sample, these are going to be sealed by melting a portion of the glass neck to form either bead seal or tip sealing or the pull sealing. The closure system, most vulnerable and the critical